the more aggressive he sounds, the less credible he is. And this is his problem. He's in the middle of a mess, and he doesn't know how to get out of it. I strongly suspect that Putin will gracefully retire to his home, and there'll be another president within a year. But there has to be a graceful period. I think Putin has worn himself out.
Wow. I mean, there was an article, I think, in the Times of London this weekend that said that he is, a quote from him, I believe, that said he's constantly thinking about his successor. I mean, if he were to settle this war on the current terms that we don't know exactly the terms of the deal that is being proposed, but it's, broadly drawing a line where the current battle lines stand. Do you think that that's a capitulation that he won't be able to survive?
Well, for 3 years, fighting and dying, that's all he got. That little bit of Ukraine. The great Russian army, the Europeans now say, how can we defend ourselves against the Russians? Well, for God's sakes, if the Ukrainians can beat them, what are you worrying about? Russia has changed its image, particularly the military, and what we thought it was is no longer. And Russia lived internationally by having this threat. And it was a conventional military threat that now has been vaguely stated as a nuclear threat. So if Russia is not a major military threat and is an economic shambles, what is Russia? And this really is the issue. And the Americans are quite happy to see Trump struggling with it.
I mean, I suppose the question is, if Putin goes, what happens next then?
Well, my suspicion is that those who wanted a great Russia, who wanted to replicate the communist entity, have lost. Russia was once Tsarist, Christian, tied together by that. Then it was communist, bound together by that. What is it now? It is a nation. What are its principles? What are its interests? Well, so on. So after the Cold War ended, Russia became a sort of democracy, okay? But it was never what it really was. Russia has never struggled with the question, not just what after communism, what after the Tsars, what after all of Russian history, what are we? And Putin tried to resurrect it in a way that we are a great power. That's what we are. We are a nation and a great power. And he lost that in Ukraine. We are a power and we're significant. But we have an economy to develop. We can't develop it in isolation. We have to be part of the global trading system, whatever that becomes. And Trump is definitely using that as a weapon in all of this. And Trump has made openings on investment in Russia, and many openings on that score. And there are many private businesses, as now it's virtually a capitalist country, that are very interested in those. So I can't name the personalities. I can name the fallen personalities, those who used to be very powerful and now are marginalized. But who was coming up against him? Well, I think it's enough of a Russian place that they don't want to be seen and known. But there's the pressure. Remember that during the Ukrainian war, there was an attempted coup d'etat against Putin by his own allies, his caterer, in fact, with the Wagner Group. So he's already survived one coup. Now he's looking at another. So I read the Ukrainian situation differently than most, who regard this as Russia having military options, which I don't think they have, and an internal crisis that centers around Putin, but really is a question, what will Russia now be? This is the time that Russia takes into account its reality. And that's a very hard thing to do. And just as the United States is now in the midst of a crisis, who are we? And what will we want to be in the world? So other European countries are taking the same crisis. And Russia is undergoing the same crisis in a very Russian way.
And I want to come on to those European countries in just a second, but let me push you on one thing there, George. So a post-Putin Russia, which could be around the corner really, could create a Russia that is very different from the sort of right-wing nationalistic Russia that we are looking at today, because those with that interest may have cooked, their boat may have sailed.
Well, the problem is that Russian right-wing nationalism was also posing as the Soviet Union, with the power of the Soviet Union. So the real issue is for Russia to come to terms with what it is. Always a great power, vast resources, a political system that has never been democratic in the full sense of the term, and divided between Siberia and Europe, divided between European Russia, between various groups. So it is a normal country. It's how it always is, like Britain is, Scotland and Ireland and all of this, but we'll make it. This is something Russia solved with dictatorship. This dictatorship did not solve the problem. And so it evolves. But can it move away from dictatorship? I don't know. Even the Russians don't know. But this can't go on.
For the full episode and much more, go to geopoliticalfutures.com/podcast.